beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
Crazy evil.
What the fuck's up? Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. It is July 3rd, a beautiful Thursday morning. I am joined today by Toad. You can follow him at Twitter, at LearnToToad. And I don't know, maybe one of these days we'll get the gang back together and you can, maybe it'll be Tower Gang Toad and Tower Gang Jose once again. But as of now, it's just Tower Gang Jose.
Yeah, man. That was a sweet intro. I don't know if I've seen that intro before, at least that version of it. I don't know. It's got Mandy in it. Was that the Nicolas Cage thing? Mandy?
I'm not sure. I'm glad you know, because now I want to watch it. Cause it's like
a solid movie, dude. It's
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a revenge movie.
All right. Well, yeah. No, that was Laney. Laney made a new one for me. Not very. Right around the breakup. Right around the breakup is had nothing to do with it. Just happened to be right at that exact same time. By the way, someone's saying raise your volume. You sounded good to me. So if you guys let me know in the chat if it doesn't sound great. But yeah, somebody's saying Mandy is awesome. But yeah, I haven't seen that movie. But I know I can adjust it on my end too, real quick. If
my settings are what they usually are. It's same as I did Better Off Dead a little while ago. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how it is in the mix, I guess. I can turn it up a little bit if you want.
Whoa. Calm down, baby. Calm down, baby boy. I got you. Here we go. All right, you're good. You know, you're louder now. You should be louder now. All right, let me know. That should be better now. I think that people will like that better. All right, let's I guess I don't know. Should we do any small talk here? What's going on with you these days, bud? Anything? You're doing your Better Off Dead. I know you just did Bro Grove. How did that go? Did you have a fun time? I heard you were kind of the star of the show as well. You should have been. So, any thoughts before we get into it?
I don't know about that, but yeah, Bro Grove was definitely fun. Yeah, I think it was. I think it went well. I mean, we had the guy that ran the venue that we used last time has like a new spot, and he's like willing to do it, man. So I don't know why we ever even strayed from that guy in the first place, to be honest, because that guy is he's a solid dude and he's down with like what we throw down. It was a crazy event. It was fun times. Got to meet Jake Shields, Owen Benjamin, Shane Cashman, Elijah Schaefer, Sam Tripoli, bunch of big names there. Fun time, man. Comedy night was crazy. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I heard nothing but good things. I'm glad you guys all had a fun time. That it was a good event and went off without a hitch. Let's go ahead. By the way, they're saying audio's fine now, Toad. But let's go ahead and get into some topics. Although let's take them more into the people. Let's take them more into the people, Toad. I normally go through and say good morning to all these people. That was completely an original thing. No one's ever done that before. That's 100% my thing. I go through the chat, say good morning to everybody.
Okay, that might take a while.
Yeah, it's a joke, obviously. There was like Raven on his timeline cleanse. That was the thing he did, said morning. But I didn't even do it intentionally copying. I just realized at one point, they're like, oh, I'm just saying morning to everybody. It's just it just feels right because it's like everyone's here. So it feels like I'm stealing a shtick, but really just like when we have a hangout sort of thing like this, it just seems appropriate. Hopefully one day you guys will grow to the point where it's no longer appropriate, or you'll have to or you'll have to super chat for the good mornings. But good morning, Andrew Jacobs. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Queen Calnets. Good morning, Dr. Ori 420. Good morning, Tom33. Good morning, Brain Buckets. Good morning, Jas 722. Good morning, King David. Good morning, Let Me Die. What does Gladio have to do with Gaza? Well, hang on about, 45 minutes or so, and I will tell you. Good morning, John Black. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Daz. Ooh, evening for you, wherever you are, in some communist hellhole. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. Good morning, Rise to Liberty. See everyone sneaking in. They're feeling left out. They're trying to get in. Say good morning to me. Say good morning to me. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Daz must be in Europe somewhere, which sucks.
Good mornings to all, and to all a good morning. All right, let's go ahead and get into the first thing. I know the thumbnail for today is Diddy, but we're not doing a super deep dive. We're just watching a video. We'll talk about it a little bit. So not too deep, but just deep enough, I think. That's what your mom said. So here is Alan Dershowitz. So we have this video from Dersh, and I just want to see what he had to say. I know we've changed up the format recently on this show, and we start out with usually a video or something a little bit more like pop conspiracy or something, as opposed to the normal dour starting out with war stuff. So here we are. Although I guess what's fun about this, Benny Johnson makes it kind of poppy with his gay energy. So let's watch this. Let's see what the old Dersh has to say.
We appreciate your time. We know that you must be incredibly busy today. Your take on this Diddy verdict. This is quite a shocker to most who are observing this right now.
Well, what Diddy did clearly was immoral, and maybe some of the things he did were illegal under state law. But as usual, the federal government overcharged him. They charged him with being a racketeer under the RICO statute that was designed for the mafia. They charged him with trafficking people involuntarily, when the evidence suggests that most of these women voluntarily transactional sex. They wanted something in exchange for the sex. So they got him on essentially the Mann Act, which prohibits people from crossing state lines for immoral purposes. And I suspect that conviction may very well be reversed on appeal. And I think the trial judge thinks so too, because he's apparently going to release him on bail, which is not usually done if the judge thinks that the conviction will be affirmed on appeal. So I suspect in the end, this is a good day for Sean Combs and his lawyers, and not a particularly good day for prosecutors. I also think it's a good day for the law if it really strikes a difference and says, look, if you have non-consent to do sex, you've been victims of a crime. But if you're engaging in sex voluntarily in order to get an advantage in the rap business, well, maybe that's not criminal. Maybe that's just something you have to discuss with your priest and your rabbi and your mother.
All right, Toad, what do you think? What are your thoughts? I know we covered this on the morning show yesterday because it happened yesterday. Diddy's essentially freed. He got hemmed up on a couple charges, but they were something about transportation in relation to prostitution. So I think that could be literally if you drove a prostitute, or if you drove to a prostitute, or if you're a prostitute who drove to someone. I think that would apply to you. So that was a charge he got hanged with. Two charges of that. I believe it carries, I don't know if it's combined, the two charges carries a maximum of 10, or maybe it's but anyways, I think looking at a maximum of 10 years. But likely, let's be real, he'll probably only get a year or two, I think is what most people are thinking. Because, a charge for literally transportation to a prostitute or something, or to prostitution. What kind of... that's whatever. You're going to get maybe a year. He'll probably get time served. I guess they're talking about letting him out on bail, and probably even, I guess, on the appeal. It sounds like the appeal will probably get slapped down. But I think this is to be fair. I feel like I've heard murmurs of this. I didn't follow this trial super close throughout, but I feel like I've heard murmurs of people pointing out that, they're really overcharging him, and it's kind of crazy the charges they're trying to hit him with. But I guess you kind of just assumed, maybe there's a shitload in this trial. I didn't follow the trial closely, so I don't know, maybe. But I guess I'm not personally shocked. I felt like there probably should have been, there should have been more, damning stuff to hear from the courts. But so far as on the specifics of RICO, which is like essentially some grand, which I guess in this case, I think it probably does apply to him, but to prove that in court is a whole other thing. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Toad? Do you, I mean, it does seem like they probably did overcharge him. Obviously, I think Diddy is probably part of some grand blackmail network, honestly, with strong intelligence and even Zionist connections. That goes way deeper than everyone wants to, look at it as just some rap thing. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the law, there might be some point to this, and that, I mean, did we really ever expect him to get? I mean, I guess I kind of expected maybe there was a chance in that way, because it's very obvious he's done crazy things, and it's like the Epstein effect of just to give. It's kind of to give the people something, kind of the idea of what Jesus and Barnabas, how they swapped out Barnabas for the crowd, like the crowd essentially, to satiate the crowd. You would think they would give up Diddy. Is my point. Is I assumed the powers that be would have this realization of if anything, we need to cook the books so this guy does something. Because I just didn't see Diddy really, I guess, being that high up to where he was that protected to where the powers that be would be willing to burn their own, I guess, credibility, or cover to that extent for Diddy. You'd think that the powers that be that sit above him would almost just want him to burn him to not have to deal with it. But I don't know, I guess I just threw a lot at you, Toad. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I pretty much agree with what you're saying. I didn't follow the case that closely. I know that initially there were some other charges, and some of the charges got dropped.
Yep.
Prior to this, but my initial
it was a few days ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, my initial thinking was oh well, they're probably just dropping some of the lesser charges just so they can kind of focus. Because sometimes you'll see that happen, with a prosecution, if there's a jury or whatever, they don't want to confuse the jury as much. So, let's just take these out. Let's go for these big charges. I was maybe that's what they're doing. But then as I looked into it a little bit more, still not very deeply, but I'm no, that's probably not what's going on here. More and more, I was thinking he's probably going to get off. And I don't mean get off like he did at his parties. What I mean, he's going to get off for the most part, and that's essentially what's happening here. And I don't know that it's just really. I mean, I agree with Dershowitz in the fact I think RICO is bullshit. RICO, RICO was a power grab back during the mafia.
Yeah. I don't even understand what the fuck RICO is. It sounds like some very, very specific legal thing that they use to hem up organized crime. And it's I don't even really particularly understand exactly. But essentially it's supposed to be racketeering, some sort of specific merits of somehow you're coordinating. I think people always try to say this is
Yeah,
it's conspiracy type essentially charge. Essentially,
it's how they were able to go after multiple members of the mafia just because they had connections with other mafia people and whatever. That was this whole thing. It was kind of bullshit, even though obviously the mafia is organized crime. But me being Italian, I kind of have a soft spot for some of the mafia. But yeah, RICO, I mean, it was definitely a power grab just so they could throw a lot of stuff at a bunch of suspected mafia members, pretty much. That was when it was created. Now that's being used in this case as well. But as far as Diddy is concerned, man, I mean, I think probably he deserves to go away for a long time and longer than what he's going to go away for, because I think he is wrapped up in all this Epstein-esque shit, basically. And of course, I think Dershowitz is probably involved in that as well, which is why he's not gonna be talked about. He's not gonna be talking about anything related to that. So yeah, but on the one hand, I did also kind of think maybe what you were saying, maybe Diddy would turn into the next Epstein, sort of the sacrificial lamb, this guy's going to get put away, and then that's kind of sweeping it under the rug. But that even seems to not be the case. I don't know why, but I guess the silver lining in all of this, though, is that I think the public perception of this, everybody kind of seems to know what's going on, just like they did with Epstein. They know that Diddy is a bad dude. They're not Diddy defenders for the most part. I think the public is yeah, this guy should be going away for a long time. So I think there is at least that as a bit of a white pill there.
Yeah. All right, let's roll through the chat, see what they got to say. We got Boomer Sooner saying Diddy might be a mental case and freak. that has problems, but free him. It was all odd from the beginning. I said this weeks ago. Tom33 says Epstein got off the first time too. I'm not surprised by this one bit. Yeah, I guess maybe you get one freebie in this game. You're like, all right, next time, we're gonna fucking murder you.
Well, yeah, with Epstein, I mean, Epstein pretty much had all this blackmail content though, so it did make sense that at some point they were probably going to be like, we need to put this guy away, basically, right? And get rid of him.
Yeah, make sure you hit that like button, motherfuckers. Just like Hustle Bones says here. He says, like the stream, N-words. Doctori points out, I don't know why I didn't even think of this before. I mean, it's so obvious. They just wanted his tapes. It's like, oh yeah, that checks out. You're like, I didn't even think about the fact that could be leveraged using politically, but
the Diddy tapes, because there were probably a lot of famous people, involved in that at these parties, right? And those people would not want it to get out. So it could be another blackmail type of scenario there. And Diddy is a blackmail.
Mm-hmm. Diddy's rehabilitation is breakfast in the morning. I don't know what that means, but okay. But apparently he was targeting people for extortion that weren't approving, basically got too big for his britches, as they say. It's groups of associations is RICO is what Hustle's saying here.
Right. Yeah, that breakfast thing was a reference to the breakfast question, but I still don't really understand.
It's like I thought maybe that had something to do with that. It was like I don't know, whatever. It didn't make sense at all. First time's a warning to keep it further underground. Okay, that's a good. Maybe there is some like unsaid rule with these, because I guess it would make sense if you were someone playing this game. It's like, I don't know, you kind of almost got to have a mulligan. I mean, especially when you're working with Diddy. I mean, I don't know. Let's be real. Does he strike you as a cautious individual? I didn't get that impression.
No.
So,
no.
Yeah. All right, real quick, before we move on from the Diddy thing, I do got to give a shout out to Nick Bryant for calling this. He said he wrote this back in 2024 in May, and I remember covering this a bunch too. He predicted the fix was in. The same U.S. attorney who covered up Epstein via the Maxwell trial also covered up Diddy. That is this guy right here, Andre Damian Williams Jr. This is the same DA, which, to be fair, it's like location-based, and it's a big location, but it's kind of like, hey, you put your fixers in place, and this is the fixer. I recommend checking out this article. It's a pretty informative article. He called it, a long time ago. He said, hey, this guy hooked it up, made sure all the elites, none of the Johns got exposed during the Ghislaine thing. Everything was tied up in a nice little bow, and got everyone like, oh, look, we got justice here, and that was this guy. So he did the same thing here. So he's earning his paycheck. So I guess good on him in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on into some foreign policy stuff, pal. Reports estimates U.S. use $1.25 billion worth of THAAD interceptors to defend Israel from Iranian missiles. Now, I'm not going to read this entire article, but I remember we talked a little bit about this yesterday, the concept, because we talked about how the refuelers, now we're kind of reassessing how things were, went down to the whole Iran thing. We're finding out now that the refuelers were, I guess, operational, operating, assisting the Israel the entire time. So it's this spectrum of you move from like defensive to offensive, or like a non-involvement. And like I feel like there's a fair argument to some extent to be had when we're talking about this right here, the interceptors, which are the missiles they use to shoot down other missiles that were coming to hit Israel. So now the argument would be like, oh, you're just stopping destruction. So it's like, okay, there's something to that. That's fair. I guess you are sort of putting your finger on the scale, but you're preventing someone in this conflict from being hurt. So it's kind of, if anything, I don't know, it's almost somewhat admirable. But even with that, even at the lowest end, even at the smallest amount of engagement, even below like the support of, like we were talking about with the refuelers yesterday, at the defense level, we're talking about spending $1.25 billion. Each one of those THAAD interceptors is a $13 million investment right there. So that is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you make $50,000 a year, I mean, I don't know. How many years does that take to where you could pay for one interceptor? Like, hell, even just let's do 100,000. Let's say you're doing fairly well in life. You're upper middle class. 100,000. That's still what? That's 130 years. Like you're not making that in a normal lifetime, I think. Or did I just do shit math there? No, I did shit math there. I did what am I getting that? No, 100.
What?
13 million divided by 100,000. That'd be 10. I'm doing some bad math, but either way, it'd take a long fucking time. So, someone do the math for me. Maybe I got it right the first time.
I think you did get it right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, it's not even. You wouldn't even get it in a normal person's lifetime.
Because that would be 100, right? Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So I think
maybe
I'm
right. Doing shit math now. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm questioning myself, but yeah. So that's even at the lowest end of involvement in a war. This is what we're looking at. So,
yeah.
Fun stuff. And then also, we have the president signs law suspending cooperation with IAEA in response to U.S.-Israeli airstrikes, which I know that's been something that's been tossed around. Well, now it's happening. So that got signed into law. That is official that they are going to no longer be working with the IAEA, which is the with the people overlooking the nuclear treaty that were actually still in, that we left. So, but now they're saying fuck that, we're out. So, I don't know. Any thoughts on any of this? I don't know. I guess it's really think this is your chance to kind of give your stump speech on anything Gaza related. But I guess I kind of gave you two topics: the IAEA kind of essentially incentivizing them to become more nuclear, and then we also have, the cost of war even at the lowest end of it here. So I don't know, just kind of go wherever you want with it, Toad. I'm sure you probably haven't given a whole lot of Iran discourse on much shows anyways, so go to town, bud.
No, I mean, I tweet about it occasionally, but I mean, the U.S., they're always going to claim that they're being defensive, right? All this stuff that we're doing in the Middle East is defensive. Well, and it's never really, you're mentioning them, doing refueling of whatever the hell it was in this case. With the U.S., they're known for doing that. They will be we're just refueling the Saudi Air Force fighters or whatever. It's we don't have boots on the ground, man, so we're not in this war. It's yeah, you are. You're taking an offensive stance in this war anyway, man. And we know that with the U.S., Israel, that whole thing, they're provoking, all this conflict in the Middle East. So it's and again, we're paying for it, and we're paying more. We're paying all this money for whatever the hell, these missile interceptors now. And, it's defense, man. It's the new Iron Dome, whatever. Yeah, well, none of this would be necessary if you weren't taking this aggressive stance in the Middle East to begin with. So fuck all that. And then what are we talking? We're talking about the Iran nuclear thing here. Again, the U.S. is going to be claiming, just like Netanyahu has been claiming for a long time, that Iran is this close to having a nuclear bomb, which is not true. It has not been the case. It's still not the case. They do have a nuclear energy program to some extent, whatever. Maybe at some point they might have built up to having a nuclear weapons program. That's not the case right now. But even if they did, would that really be a bad thing? Do you think if Iran gets nukes, do you think they're gonna just nuke the U.S.? That's not gonna happen. I think if they got nukes, it would serve as more of a deterrent than anything else, and then maybe more maybe we'd see less war posturing towards Iran if that was the case. So it's all just crazy, man. Obviously I'm opposed to all of it, so I don't know if I have any other thoughts than that, but yeah.
Hey, Demon Hunter Bear. Hi, Nancy. Hey, everybody. I'm just saying hi. People showed up. All right, let's move into the next one. I guess a kind of perfect little segue from Iran to Gaza here in the form of a story. Here is Israeli pilots dumped unused bombs over Gaza during Iran strikes. I'm not going to read this entire thing to you, but essentially, I think it was one pilot or one of the air traffic, some person in the know of what was going on had this genius idea during the period of time when they were dropping bombs in Iran. They go, hey, it looks like I don't know if they had extra munitions or if they're we could load extra and that way we could get a twofer on the way back. But someone had the genius idea that hey, we should either I don't remember if they either loaded extra or if it was just whatever was left over, but hey, on the way back just drop that shit on Gaza. And I don't know if we have something going on, you want to drop a bomb there, hey, we'll just make it extra efficient. And then once one guy started doing it, the rest go, oh shit, that's pretty fucking genius. And the next thing you know, that was what everybody was doing, and apparently this was the methodology during this entire back and forth skirmish pretty much. Is that they were flying over to Iran, dropping the bombs and then coming back and dropping bombs, whatever they had left over on Gaza. So this is the degree to which, I don't know, it was just a...
Right. I like how they call it an unused bomb. It's just like it's almost like garbage. Like, oh, don't worry about it. They're just tossing out some bombs there over Gaza. Like, what the fuck is an unused bomb? It means that it's a bomb that they haven't... Yeah. That it hasn't exploded yet. So they're bombing Gaza here. Additionally, the way they word that is very deceptive.
Yeah, I mean, sure, the way they would probably... the logic would be to probably, I don't know, how do I say it? I guess it is more efficient, actually. It's pretty smart. This is some like... Oh, shit, I don't even know how I didn't even think about this. This is Jewy. This is Jewy as hell. This is pretty smart. This is a twofer. If you're going to be involved in two conflicts at the same time... and you're dropping airstrikes, right? Why not? You know, but it's I don't know. I guess it's just kind of a good example of what the fuck is going on. You know, what the hell? You know, I don't know. So
gotta make use of those bombs, man. You already paid for them, so
exactly. And then Israeli forces kill 139 Palestinians in Gaza over 24 hours. So I mean, we have a little bit more to go on that, but the number go up as we've said with the Iran thing. Dialing down, the Gaza thing is picking up. So, not looking good. I don't know. I don't know where things go here. And then someone was asking about the Gaza Gladio thing. I mean, that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I'm not saying it's literally a Gladio thing. But we talked about in the past with this whole aid thing when this first started about the GHF and some of the seedy connections. How I don't remember if it was a CEO or one of the founders or one of the guys, the big dogs, is like essentially you look at his resume and he was CIA. I'm pretty sure he was straight up CIA and he was involved in like every seedy fucking foreign conflict, like legit, like probably killing people shit. And then now he is running this GHF thing that now. What is it? I think in the realm of roughly about 30 people-ish a day. I think now lately we've been seeing around 20-ish a day. Seems to be dying down. I think they might be it might be being harder to kill people now. I don't know. Maybe might not be racking up the high numbers. But point being is looking at these seedy organizations, and I remember we pointed out from the jump that this looks rough. It looks a lot like some sort of Gladio something or other, some sort of private public. Corruption going on here. You look at the people they were hiring, the rates at which they were hiring, the people that were over it. You start going, oh shit, this looks a little bit whack. And then now here we are. What the news is U.S. contractors say their colleagues are firing live ammo as Palestinians seek food in Gaza. So now we're up to the contractors, like the people working for the aid thing are also the ones doing it too. Now they are, I think, mostly security personnel. But either way, like this was the big aid foundation, and when this, it's just kind of I'm showing you as we're going through this day by day how this is furthered because we were at it's been weeks now of about 30 a day dying of the aid ones, and then they the first day Israel denied it and said it was Hamas, and then they sort of or they didn't even acknowledge it, and then I think they denied it, and it was and then eventually then it becomes we sort of ignore it, and then it becomes we accept it, and then there was that the Haaretz article that were all a bunch of different military members said this happened, and then they officially acknowledge it, and so now we have official acknowledgement of the IDF shooting at them. Because then it was we have these aid things, but it's just the IDF, outside the perimeter of this aid stuff or whatever, because they're supposed to be this outer perimeter or whatever. Oh, it's just them firing at the or now we've gone even further to no, the U.S. contractors who theoretically should be even further in this nexus of protection of the aid or whatever. Now they're also firing ammo at the Palestinians. So. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse. Here's a photo, by the way, of these aid stations. You can see the gates they have set up. But yeah, American contractors guarding aid distribution sites in Gaza are using live ammunition and stun grenades as hungry Palestinians scramble for food. Yeah. According to accounts and videos obtained by the Associated Press, 2 U.S. contractors speaking to the AP on condition of anonymity because they were revealing their employer's internal operations said they were coming forward because they were disturbed by what they considered dangerous and irresponsible practices. They said the security staff hired were often unqualified, unvetted, heavily armed, and seemed to have an open license to do whatever they wished. They said their colleagues regularly lobbed stun grenades and pepper spray in the direction of the Palestinians. One contractor said bullets were fired in all directions, in the air, into the ground, and at times toward the Palestinians, recalling at least one instance where he thought someone had been hit. Now, I think this might be, I know there's a video, there's a few videos, and you can see some of what they're talking about. There's one, I'll actually just go ahead and jump to it right here. Dave DeCamp shared the transcript, I guess you could say, of what was said in one of these, which I guess we'll watch some of these videos here in a second. But here's what they say. And one of it says, in one video, appeared to be heavily armed American security contractors at one of the sites in Gaza discuss how to disperse Palestinians nearby. One is heard saying he has arranged for a show of force by Israeli tanks. He says, I don't want this to be too aggressive, he adds, because this is calming down. At that moment, bursts of gunfire erupt close by, at least 15 shots. Woo, woo, one contractor yelps. I think you hit one says. Then comes a shout, hell yeah, boy. So this is their, this is how they behave in relation to murdering Palestinians looking for food. I don't know. Any thoughts to it? I know you said a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like Chelsea Manning leak type of shit almost, right? Like it's almost more like that whistleblower type of stuff, but we know this is happening. We see this all the time. I think this is just what you get with like U.S. military basically, or military contractors, whoever these people even are. They're just, they're pretty sick people, and they see this other group as the enemy, basically, because that's what they're told, whatever. Oh, yeah, let's just shoot and kill them, whatever, and let's, try to kill more of them, and we'll high-five each other over it. I mean, and again, the U.S. kind of takes the stance like, oh, well, these people are defending, right? They're defending aid centers or whatever the hell this is right now. Well, no, you're killing civilians who are just trying to get food right now. So, yeah, it's all gross, obviously.
Yeah. All right, let's go through a couple of these videos. I'm not going to read the whole article. It's kind of long. I'd recommend you guys go check it out. If this is a solo episode, maybe we would. But let's just watch these videos and see, kind of get examples of what they're showing here. Yeah.
We should have AOC should be near the fence crying over this instead of the instead of the board. Or
right. All right. So you can hear the shots.
Yeah, I just see a lot of smoke, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna be able to see a whole lot in these. I think even though the video I talked about earlier with the them saying the crazy stuff, you're only hearing it. So it's really just the idea that you're even able to hear these. Here's the example we were talking about earlier. These are innocent people being hurt. Oh, never mind, I'm retarded. Here's another video.
I think there might not be sound on this, by the way.
I'm an idiot. My bad. I forgot. It does this. It's this on StreamYard does this stupid shit. My bad. All right, here you go. I just had to bring it back up again. I'm sorry, guys. Just know there were gunshots.
There it is.
Yeah. So you see these long lines. They have them all in the. Oh, geez. They literally have them herded in there in lines. Okay, this one's like a more better example than the previous video. I'll play this one again real quick since I fucked up the video or the audio for you guys, so you can hear they're shooting at them, and they have them in this like corralled into a line here, which so they don't even have any other option but to go forward or backward in these essentially corridors.
Right, and where is this exactly? This is in Gaza?
Yeah, this is Gaza. I believe it's southern Gaza right now. So that's pretty wild. I didn't even think about the fact that they're like literally in corridors. This is even more terrifying. They're literally herding them through here. So this is like a perfect little death trap, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
herded there in a line. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, basically. And let's praise ourselves over this. Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. All right. Here's another one.
So there it is. Yeah, southern Gaza right there.
Yeah.
Saw that map.
All right, you didn't really see anything in that one, but at least you get an idea more what these are, what they're dealing with day to day. I'll scroll up and look at the map real quick so you guys get an idea. The Morag corridor. I'm wondering if that's the corridor or that's what that little area they've created that's literally fenced in chain link fence that create like a corridor.
That's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like that's what leads it through there. I'm gonna see if I can say something about that because I'm kind of curious how long that is, because I know one of the things on like the outer perimeter, their logic is that like there are these hordes, these masses of people that like essentially like almost like they're off on the horizon, and it's like certain times when they have the 8 open and not, and like when it's not open, like it's like basically they're like, this is a combat zone essentially, like anybody in here you can get shot. And so it's like if they see someone, you know, kind of poke their head around this, like fuck off, get out of here. And then the idea being like, oh, now it's aid time. Okay, we're not shooting at you. But then it's like you can see how that could be open to confusion. These things are opened at weird hours. These like, I mean, also the idea that like I don't know, it's just a lot of mistakes, and it's at least that's that's like the most good faith understanding of what the fuck is going on there, really.
Yeah.
So
they're turning a bread line into a dead line.
All right, that was pretty good. All right, I was trying to see if I could find more on the corridor and see specifics on the logistics and how far they got to walk to go through that corridor. Because it's like, are they getting shot inside of this essentially assembly line? Because it like that, it's like I don't even understand how you. Because it's like then I guess the issue would be then like you could make the claim that in this little corridor there's bad actors and a Hamas character or something. It's like you're in a tightly packed area, and what are we gonna do? Oh no, 6 people died because there was one Hamas guy who got all stabby. At least that's what I said. But it's like, I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to conceptualize this because this does seem like when they're like a crowd, it's like they're more able to like, okay, they can kind of get away from it, whatever. But if you're literally in this packed little area and they start firing, like I don't know. This is terrifying shit. All right, let's roll through the chat, see what you guys say, and then we'll move on to the next story.
And the Palestinians are like split across like 3 different like places, right? Like, they're in Gaza here, which is kind of like southwest Israel, basically. Yeah. Well, then they're also in the West Bank, and they're in Palestine. So
that is Palestine. Palestine's both.
Palestine is the West Bank?
No, Palestine's just generally what you call both. I mean, really, some people call Palestine the entire state of Israel, or the area.
Well, I was just talking about what's considered to be like the territory of Palestine.
No, there is no like Palestine in that sense.
Oh,
like,
all right.
That would be like saying I know Palestine's like saying the U.S. and then West Bank's like saying Texas. I mean, not the greatest one for there, but you get the idea. It's all right. West Bank's a subsidiary of Palestine. It's not a separate thing.
Well, Israel shouldn't exist, so that
I agree.
Also means it's crazy for us to be defending it. Israel is the source of all of our problems.
Yeah. Dr. Ray says probably better for everyone if the Saudis, Turks, and Egyptians formed a new Islamic empire to control the whole region like the Ottomans. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, man. The only problem was they drove out the Armenians and genocided them, but other than that, it was better than what we have now.
Yeah, and then Hustle says, I don't get it. If the Palestinians are hungry, why don't they just go to the grocery store? Yeah, right? About that. I don't think that's going to work out. All right, we have a new bill that would give Israel access to B-2s, massive bombs to strike Iran, because that's exactly what they need. A new bipartisan bill in Congress would give Israel access to U.S. weaponry to conduct strikes on Iran's nuclear facility, similar to the one ordered by President Donald Trump last month. So point being is in the future, it doesn't even have to be us. Israel can just do it. The Bunker Buster Act, just with our own stuff, essentially. The Bunker Buster Act was introduced by Josh Gottheimer, Democrat in New Jersey, and Mike Lawler, Republican in New York. Iran, the leading state sponsor of terror and one of America's top enemies, can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why I strongly supported our military's actions earlier this month. The statement from Gottheimer said, Iran has killed scores of Americans, including our service members, and repeatedly attacked our key democratic ally, Israel. Israel must be able to defend herself against Iran, ensure that Iran cannot rebuild its nuclear capabilities. I think they usually refer to countries
Israel
as
a woman.
I think they usually refer to most countries as women, really. Gottheimer introduced similar bills in previous Congress sessions. If passed, it would give Israel access to American B-2 bombers and 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs that are currently only used by the U.S. While the legislation will require Iran to be working on a nuclear weapon before having access to American arms, politicians in Washington and Tel Aviv have long asserted that Tehran was building a nuclear weapon without evidence.
Yep.
So, all right. I mean, I don't know if this necessarily means that they would just get a borrow. Like, we would be like, oh, just borrow when you're B-2 to bomb Iran. We'll give it right back. Yeah. Or if this means that they would just essentially open sales. Like, if for some reason maybe there's certain arms restrictions right now to where we don't sell B-2s since they're bombers. And I'm pretty sure those can be equipped with nukes. So it's which makes us even more kind of crazy because it's like this is a nuclear nation and you're trying to provide them with the ability to drop nukes, which I don't know what their Air Force consists of. They very well may have their own bombers anyways. So it's like it may be a whatever, but the idea of like supplying the ability to disseminate nuclear bombs to a nuclear armed nation seems a little bit silly, especially since we're not even supposed to be supplying arms to them at all. I believe that's what a condition of the IAEA, I think, is that like if you're in, or what, and one of these nuclear fucking things is if you're a nuclear country that's, internationally recognized as such, you aren't able to receive, I believe, military aid from any other country. Because, guess what, baby boy? You get to take on all the roles of essentially a superpower and you don't get to I need money. So, yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts, bud?
Well, shout out to Kyle Anselm, by the way, who wrote this article, Libertarian Institute. He's a Massachusetts guy, by the way. Good dude. Got to hang out with him at PorkFest a couple years back. So, yeah. I think this is just a whatever type of thing where the U.S. is basically like, oh, this isn't us that's doing this. This is Israel doing this. We're just supplying them with the capabilities to do this. Like, is it really any different than if the U.S. was just doing it? I mean, it's all kind of the same thing to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, it seems just like if this is happening, it's just another, step towards this being like a hot war with Iran, which is not good.
Which, by the way, someone was asking if the B-2 can drop nukes, and everything I'm seeing is, yeah, it can. I don't know why people are questioning it. I'm not like a... You guys made me question myself, because I'm not a... I'm actually, while was an aircraft mechanic for 11 years, I'm not like an aircraft nerd. I know a lot of people in aircraft mechanics do become like aircraft nerds, so I don't really know, oh, this is a B-2, this is that, and this is it, and this does this, and so I'm like, I didn't know. I mean, like, maybe he doesn't. I just assumed it's a bomber, and we have B-2s, B-52s. I think most of them are capable. We only have a few different types of bombers, really, and I think they're all, as far as I'm aware, nuclear capable. But yeah, they can drop conventional and thermonuclear weapons. And I believe it has a payload capacity of more than 40,000 pounds. So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the B-2s that dropped the bunker busters. But either way, yeah, someone was questioning that.
Yeah, I think it mentioned that in this article.
Yeah. So yeah, and then that was part of it. So yeah, I just know where the rivets go. Is what. Yeah, I know what I need to know. I know that thing right there, that little doodad. That thing's fucked up, and here's the other doodad to go fix it. That's what I know. So that's all you need to know. I don't need to know all this gay fucking trivia about aircraft.
That's right.
But speaking of gay places, Ukraine. I didn't know. I was like at midway. I was like, speaking of, I was like, fuck, where do I go with this segue?
Nice segue.
Nah, it didn't work. U.S. confirms it's halted some arms shipment to Ukraine. Well, it looks like we're chilling out some of these arms shipments to Ukraine, but it looks like perhaps it said they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, they're going to Israel instead.
Yeah, pretty much. The U.S. recently used Patriot missiles to repel an Iranian attack, which is retaliation for the U.S. bombing. So there's another reason too that other things like our own places we need these missiles. So essentially, we're moving a lot of the stuff over to Ukraine and repositioning them because we need that shit. We're just able to drop our stuff all over the world. We can't fucking do everything. Sorry, Ukraine. We already have 20 other commitments going on. But yeah, looks like we're going to be pivoting away from Ukraine and back towards ourselves and Israel, probably. It looks like we might just let Israel, God damn it, Ukraine just kind of go off the pasture and slowly wither away until they sell away their entire country like Zelensky's trying to do.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. That's another thing too. I don't know if you heard about the. I was listening to something this morning, and I guess the mineral defense thing. I guess I believe Russia just recently moved into one of the mineral locations, one of the more recent things, and then also I believe they had also made a similar deal or the same deal with I think Britain. So it almost my point being is it looks like we may not be getting much out of that, whole fucking shtick, which I don't know how much you paid attention to that whole minerals deal nonsense.
Not a lot, no.
And then also on top of that, it just kind of looks like that may have just been some, like Zelensky literally trying to sell away his nation for whatever. So point being is this kind of looks like to me, as I've said many times, kind of a World War I-ish, maybe not the greatest, but they're kind of looking like Germany post-World War I, just slowly just getting fucked. I mean, I don't know. Just as the longer this place takes to make a peace, the worse position they're in. And he's slowly going around, it seems like, to different countries and selling whatever bits of equity he has in his country in order to gain more military aid, this, that, whatever. Probably just realized it's a sinking ship, and he's just trying to get whatever he can on the way out. I'm pretty sure... they've postponed elections this entire time too, so he's been able to evade elections this entire time. I think they've run polls showing that he would lose if they ran it. So probably. I don't know, it's kind of predictable that it looks like this guy is literally just selling his country until the last absolute possible moment. And I don't know how this ends, but it's I don't know, it just kind of looks like this is how it's playing out. So
I mean, I don't have a whole lot to offer on that, but Ukraine is kind of like a fake country anyway, right? It's kind of just a U.S. puppet, so.
Exactly. All right, well, let's get into what we got you in here for. We got you in here for this whole Kohberger thing. Now, I had plenty to go on because I had a friend of the show, JJ Vance. JD
Vance was on?
You did the joke. He leads into that every time. Everyone gives him shit for it. He always does that joke, but it makes sense because people like you. This is why he does the joke. You're just reaffirming it. Every single time, he just go, JJ, it might even be, watch, it probably is in his bio. Watch, I'll scroll over it. It probably says not. No, but like on his podcast, every time he introduces himself, he says, not the vice president. But anyways, He's spurged out. He's got his own show. He's also a regular on Occult Rejects. Great show. Really informative. A really smart guy. Recommend him. But he spurged out. Dropped a ton of shit. So sorry. If I don't know if this was you trying to get on the show or something. But I'd like to have you on some other time, JJ. I believe like Nixium. There's so many episodes I'd like to do with you that I've heard you talk about. On the off chance you see this, JJ. So we're gonna get you on one of these days. But I have old Toad here today, and we're gonna go through some of this. But I guess I don't know what extent we're gonna use all of this here because I don't really know where to start. This Kohberger thing. I recently put out a tweet. Was this yesterday? I said, kind of asking if anyone had threads, researchers, blah blah blah. JJ Vance, which I kind of assumed he probably knew a lot about it, and I was not wrong. He dropped a shitload of info in there. A few other people. And you, surprisingly, I believe someone even may have mentioned you, or you mentioned yourself that you're like, I know a bunch about this. But this was this post that I saw, it says this New York Post is deluded Brian Kohberger fans insist he's innocent despite guilty plea deal. Reeks of a cover-up. Now, I've never really heard much about this guy. I feel like I've seen photos of this guy somewhere, although he kind of is a creepy murderer, a 500-yard stare. But never really heard about this, and then it seemed like I saw surprisingly a lot of people all up in arms about it, so I was like, oh, I guess there's a lot going on about this that I don't know, and I am I was much more of a theory guy when I started my show, and now I'm far more into parapolitics, so there are, this hasn't been my shtick for forever, so there's a lot of things I did miss the boat on, so I may have missed the boat on whatever the fuck this is, so that's what I have you here for. So what the fuck is this, Toad?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of obsessed with true crime, so I mean I've been following this case since the beginning, really, because I like murder mysteries, and that's kind of how it started, because this quadruple murder happened in the fall of 2022. I don't know where JJ is going with this. I got to look at his stuff about this, because he's seemingly taken some conspiracy angle to this that I am not even aware of. I'm aware of some other angles to this. So basically, 4 college students were murdered in this house that's really like a party house. Although the night that it happened, it was late at night. It was 4 a.m, and It was just, there were 4 chicks that lived in this house. The boyfriend of one of them was in the house, and a friend of one of them who used to live in the house was there. And 2 of the girls who actually live in the house were not attacked, and the other 4 were people were murdered. That, you know, became a huge thing right away, because, like, how do you have a quadruple murder? This is at University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho. Then, like, right away, it seemed like there was tunnel vision in the investigation, where the investigation, they got all these, like, camera angles and whatever, and they kept at least saying that they were seeing this white Hyundai Elantra and all these, like, camera angles, and they just started focusing on that white Hyundai Elantra. White Hyundai Elantra. But if you see, like, some of the camera footage is out now, and if you look at some of it, it's like, you don't even know, like, you don't necessarily even know, like, the make of the vehicle they're looking at in some cases, and in some cases it might not even be the same vehicle that they're looking at in some of these locations. So it's like, what are they doing? And then basically, because white Hyundai Elantra, blah, 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 Washington State University, which is, like, right across the border from Moscow, Idaho, so it's like, I don't know, 15 miles away over in Washington, is where Brian Kohberger was a PhD student of criminology or criminal psychology or something like that. He drives a white Hyundai Elantra. So somebody just happened to mention that, oh, hey, this Kohberger guy has a white Hyundai Elantra. Then it just seemed to me like he was the only focus, like, this whole time, to the point where this was right before Christmas when all this happened. And he, I guess, had plans to go back. He's from Pennsylvania. He had plans to go back to Pennsylvania for Christmas, and his father flew out to Washington, and then they decided to road trip from Washington to Pennsylvania. And there was this whole weird thing where it seemed like the cops were, like, following Kohberger and his father during this journey, and he got pulled over multiple times in, like, a 15-minute window for tailgating in Indiana, which seemed like that's just bullshit. It seemed like they were just watching this guy the whole time. And then eventually, the, like, one, like, real piece of evidence that they have here, which, by the way, I'm not even sure how great this piece of evidence is that at the murder scene, there was a knife sheath that was left in the bedroom upstairs, where 2 of the chicks, the one who used to live in the house and was back visiting that time, and her, like, best friend who still lived there, they were killed in the upstairs bedroom. The thought is that the one who still lived in the house was probably the intended victim of whoever the murderer was, maybe at least. But in that room, a knife sheath was left there, and they got one piece of touch DNA off of the knife sheath, which doesn't even necessarily mean that was left during the time of the murder, right? Because you could touch something and that object can be moved. So this is the one piece of DNA evidence that they have. They have this, like, you know, we're watching Kohberger this whole time, and then once he got back to Pennsylvania, I guess they got some, like, garbage from his family's house or whatever, and they did, like, a DNA comparison, and I guess they wound up comparing it to his father's DNA. Oh, okay, this is the father of whoever left the DNA on the knife sheath, so it has to be Kohberger. He got arrested off of that, plus the, like, camera footage of supposedly of his vehicle. And that's actually, like, the whole case, really, that they have, other than the fact that they have some, like, eyewitness testimony as well. Like, one of the girls who lived in the house who was not attacked saw a man in the house that night, but the guy was covered in black, and, like, how reliable are, you know, eyewitnesses, whatever, especially if they've been drinking that night, whatever. And the guy was, like, totally covered, other than that she said that she thought he was, like, around 6 feet tall, athletically built, and had bushy eyebrows. But it's like, okay, like, that doesn't necessarily mean much of anything. And then she waited 8 hours to call the police or anything, even though it, like, seemed like something was going on. I guess she, like, went down to the first floor of the house where the other girl who lived in the house who wasn't attacked was living down in the basement there. And I don't know, they just kind of hung out for like 8 hours and then called a couple of friends the next morning to come over. And eventually they called the police. And the initial police call, they were saying like, oh, we think one of our roommates is passed out, which was like one of the girls, the girl who was with her boyfriend there on the second floor of the house. I guess the girl that saw the killer saw the roommate there. But it's like, well, if you see a roommate like on the floor like that, like not in a very, typical position, like why are you not calling the police then? I don't know. But eventually like this group of like 4 people called the police. And it was this whole thing where they didn't even mention any blood either. And this was a quadruple stabbing. So if you think about what's going on here, first of all, I don't know how they didn't see like blood in any of these places, whatever. But then I also don't see how you don't have any DNA at all from a quadruple stabbing other than touch DNA there. Like some things like don't add up to me. And then very shortly after the whole thing happened, the college demolished the house.
Oh shit.
So the crime scene is gone. So they can't even like investigate this any further, which I have a huge problem with that as well. But everybody's like, well, there's DNA. Kohberger's the guy, like, you know, and he obviously has this weird look to him. He's kind of creepy. People that have, you know, encountered him in the past think he's creepy, whatever. But maybe he's just like a weird autistic dude. Like, I don't really know, man. But to me, I don't think there's enough evidence that everybody's just saying, yeah, this guy's guilty. So
so I mean, I would think like I don't know enough, but touch DNA. I would assume that would probably be super easy to plant, like a touch, like beyond easy to plant touch DNA. Like you could damn near touch someone with something and then touch something else, and ta-da! You now probably just put some touch DNA on that thing. So it literally can be like a 2-step thing. So even just even if you do want to accept that's authentically there, you could just like I don't know. I feel like you could. I don't know, you could go crazy as any sort of lawyer of like, you know, okay, well, this could have been, you know, touched by someone that went to something else, that went to this, that went to that. Like, there's there's like damn near 7 degrees of, you know, touch DNA Kevin Bacon essentially here so that you could play.
Yeah.
So,
they never found the knife. They never found the murder weapon. They just had this sheath, and they did say that Kohberger bought a knife that was of that variety on Amazon like months prior to this. But at that point, he wasn't even living in Washington yet. He was living in Pennsylvania until the summer right before this happened when he went out to Washington to start his like PhD thing. So are you telling me that he was planning like this quadruple murder months in advance before he even moved out there? I mean, that seems a little odd to me as well. And then they have the other thing that that the prosecution was hammering on is Kohberger's phone was off during the hours of the murder. And his claim was, well, no, what the defense was saying is that he was actually in some area where his phone was actually out of service. So they're making they're differentiating between phone pings off of cell phone towers, which is what the prosecution is using to say his phone was off, but it might have just been in an area that wasn't serviced. And his defense team was saying, well, you have to look at the GPS on the phone, and we can actually prove that he was not in the area of the house at that time. And his defense was, I was out stargazing late at night, which everybody thought was like, oh, yeah, that's bullshit. But Kohberger was actually known to run like late at night. He was a weirdo. Like he would go out late at night and run and hike. And there are witnesses who have like run into him on like trails, like when it's getting dark, and they say that he just disappeared like into the darkness, like into like these.
I mean, he's a single guy, right? He's a single guy, isn't he?
He's a single guy, and he's a guy who was like fat in high school and like bullied a lot. So he started running a lot, and he lost like well over 100 pounds or something. He became like obsessed with running.
That's
and hiking.
100% something I would do if I was like a single guy and I didn't have some sort of normal schedule. I could totally go on weird runs at late at night. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like, but yeah, I real quick, because I am noticing a lot of like tech stuff, and I just maybe completely out there, but I did notice, and I thought it was weird because when I did first put out this like call of like, hey, you know, kind of researchers threads, because I kind of want to cover in the morning show or just learn more about it in general, it felt like to me, it felt odd that I wouldn't say I was like a deluge or whatever, or it's a ton of them. I mean, I don't know. I noticed a handful of replies here and there, and it seemed to be it almost felt botted in a sense. Obviously, they were very different, but it was the same crux, almost as if like AI bots of like, hey, there's a message, you know, this is the message, like, but you can say it different ways. And so I felt like I was getting this like from a handful of random people that I'd never really recall ever interacting with of like, yeah, this is crazy how people just think you didn't do it, kind of deal. Like almost as if it's like, oh wow, all these crazy people out here, kind of this, and it feels, I don't know, I'm completely reaching. I don't have enough information, enough data points, but it just feels like, are we dealing with like is there something to that? Do you think there's an organic thing? The reason why I ask this is because I've been in the game long enough where I know this is a thing. Like how people do this just to generate audiences, like not even to push narratives where they will have, oh, hey, wow, great story, this, that, and you'll see all the replies, and those are just bots. But the same thing happens with narratives, and so you're like, what do you think? Is there an organic? Do you think there's an organic audience of people who think, wow, it's crazy to think anything other than this guy killed people, or
I mean, I think
does it feel contrived to you that there is some sort of like a ghost in the machine type deal that's essentially fucking with shit?
It could be both. I mean, a lot of people will just follow the prevailing narrative, and people need a solution, right? So they want to believe. They also don't want to believe that the police like completely fucked this up and got this wrong. So they want to believe, this makes sense. And a lot of people will look at this guy and think, he's weird.
It just felt particularly weird with my audience. I was like, 'cause I assumed I'd get a bunch of like noided out people. They're like, here's all the crazy things. He totally didn't fucking do it. And then like really I immediately got skepticism, which is like, I guess healthy, but like considering my audience, I felt a little bit confused. Like, I was not expecting this.
Yeah, and it's possible that he did it, but this, and I think the Delphi case, which I know you've talked about on your show, I'm pretty sure you've had people on to talk about that case. That case, I think, is worse than this case. That case had so many like bad aspects to it. The whole thing was corrupt and basically like rigged for the prosecution. But I think there were some aspects of that in this case as well, which I think is why Kohberger is pleading guilty here now, because I think even if he's not guilty, which I'm not sure, I mean, it's possible he is, I don't know, but I don't think there's enough evidence, at least to convince me that he is, but I think he's pleading guilty just because he does not want the possibility of being put to death, because this is a death penalty case, and I think he thinks he's going to lose the trial, and I think some of that has to do with the fact that the trial is definitely not being favorable to the defense team here, especially in that I think they're like kind of excluding what's some of the defense, what they're trying to do with the cell phone evidence, and they're refusing to let the defense offer up alternative suspects. And I know that there is this whole, if you watch like a lot of like YouTubers that talk about this, there's one like prevailing like alternative narrative to this, which has to do with the drug trade in the area, because a lot of these college students, I mean, this was a party house, and you know that because there's body cam footage from the police. The police got called to this house like several times this college, during this semester, like leading up to when these murders happened. The police kept getting called to this house for like noise complaints. And there's one video that everybody talks about where the police showed up and none of the residents were even at the house at that time. There was just this massive party going on. So you don't even know who's in and out of this house as well. So like you're talking about DNA evidence from this house. It's like, well, okay, like anybody could really just kind of go in and out of this house if they wanted to, because it was, this party location. But I think there's a lot kind of going on at this college involving, drinking, drugs, whatever. And there are these like there are local tie-ins between like some, I think, college students here and like the drug cartels in the area. And that's kind of the main like alternative narrative going on here, is there are people that think that maybe this was a drug-related murder to some extent.
All right, I got some shit for you.
What? All right. Yeah.
All right. As I said, JJ Vance here has some stuff. So I do have some things for us to go through here. Now, I wasn't sure. Now, as I showed you here, you guys can see I'm scrolling through, scroll. You can see JJ saying a bunch of shit. Now, I will tell you, I don't know why. I've only interacted with JJ a few times. Great guy. I don't know if this guy's on the Adderall or what, but he also, this is the short breakdown. These, the inundated of replies, these videos, all different stuff. He sent me in my DMs, and even, I guess, an expanded version of this. I scrolled through this morning, so I was unsure which one of these I wanted to use for the purposes of presentation, whether I just wanted to use as replies or I was going to use the DMs. I think I'll use the DMs. I did skim them this morning to make sure there was nothing in there that I felt like was improper to share, because, anytime you're sharing DMs, but there's nothing in there particularly that I saw that was anything that I feel like he wouldn't want to. I read all of it. I think it's all stuff he said openly before. So, and basically was the same stuff he said here, just more expanded, and it was made more sense in a DM fashion anyway. So I think that's what we'll do. Let's start there. Let's start in the DMs with old JJ here.
We're gonna see your DMs.
Yeah, we're seeing the DMs, and you can see my Glow Nigger Social Club. So you can see some of the people, but you could only see the whatever. But here is his. expand this more. I wish there was a way to expand this to be just this window, but whatever. Let's. Sorry if messages will overload. I will go up. Damn it. It's being gay. I would. Let me try. I'm trying. Isn't there a different way to open up messages? Gay. Fucking A. It's being super gay right now. Try this again. Let's see. It's not letting me scroll up for some stupid fucking reason. All right, well, maybe we're just doing the reply one. Okay, what the fuck, dude? All right, it's being gay here.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's just go to the fucking messages then, like I had or the replies. God damn it, I hate this stupid website sometimes. All right, let's just start here.
Twitter,
I'll actually
man.
see if I can get the messages to set up, because at least I think this video is the same starting point in both threads he sends, in the DM thread and in this one here. So let's start here. JJ says, I've been saying this is Idaho Contra and a matter of national security. Victim's father agrees. Let me double check and make sure the audio is working right now. All right, let's go and play this.
Which victim's father is this? I'm not entirely sure, but let me see.
And I've kind of heard that came from the media pressure. The media themselves, who had a challenge to the gag order, basically said, this is not something that is in law. Like, gag orders are for national security. Gag orders are not usually for an everyday crime in a state. And I've kind of heard that came from the media pressure.
All right, cool. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so there was a gag order, and he's talking about, I think, there was this thing where Dateline, I think, did a special, like, probably a month or two ago on this case, and they basically broke the gag order. Like, they exposed some information that was not known prior to this, and the prosecution, like, flipped out about it. And they were like, you're destroying our case right now. Like, you violated our gag order, because they released some previous information that wasn't known. But I watched it, and it was really like, the only information they kind of released was like, it was some eyewitness testimony, basically, from people that had, like, met Kohberger in, like, other places in the past and whatever, and said that he was kind of a weirdo and whatever, and he was, like, I don't know, inappropriate with women in some way and whatever, like, or, just kind of gave them, like, creepy vibes, basically. Like, okay, like, that's that information is what you're talking about.
Okay, welcome to my life.
Yeah, you're violating the gag order. Okay. Well, yeah, it was like, I don't know, like, I guess he was hitting on some woman who was, like, already taken or something at some pool party, and he, like, I think he does not have social boundaries. He's definitely autistic. I mean, is he a quadruple murderer? I have no idea, but yeah.
Yeah. Now, all right, apparently this victim, the man's brother, is in prison now for murder. You can see here, look at this guy. I know you can see a fun little armband over here.
Wait, who is this guy?
All right, we just played that video.
Yeah.
All right, so this is this video right here. I figured out a workaround for the DMs.
That's the father of one of the victims.
Yes, the father of one of the victims. So I know this is the one we just watched here.
Which is, I don't think that's, because the father that you see the most is Steve Gonzalez or whatever, Kaylee Gonzalez's father. I'm not sure that that's him, though. I don't know. Maybe he changed his appearance.
Yeah. By the way, for the audience out there, if you guys do want like a full episode on the Kohberger thing, let me know, because clearly JJ knows a shitload about this, so I probably could get him on to do a full episode. But like I said, I'd probably rather get him on to talk about like Nixium or some. There's a few other things. The Zizians, I know he knows a lot about that too. But anyway, so this is the brother of the victim that we're referring to before. I don't know which victim it is, but this is a brother. You can see the Nazi little thing on his arm. So it said they live approximately 3.5 miles from Hayden Lake. By the way, Toad, you can stop me at any point if you have any thoughts about any of this, because this is basically his take on it. He goes, there are literal Iran-Contra money launderers in and around the Moscow ID biz.
Right.
One of which is SBF's business partner in a secret deal to purchase a small rural bank 45 minutes north of both campuses. Appear to be doing cash for crypto. He seems to walk along with his celly Diddy, who also have the same attorneys. And Diddy also has ID connects. Here you go. You see Diddy.
I'm trying to follow all this. He has a Sam Bankman-Fried tie-in and now a Diddy tie-in.
I know, right? I was like, I would need him. I almost needed like a full, because he's saying, okay, how do I follow this long? This? Okay, so we have Here's one of the victim's father. Let's watch this video again to see. Like, let's watch this again.
And I've kind of heard that came from the media pressure. The media themselves, who had a challenge to the gag order, basically said, this is not something that is in law. Like, gag orders are for national security. Gag orders are not usually. All
right, let's just about the gag order. Okay, I just seeing if it maybe jog my memory about anything to connect these two. So okay. So, Iran-Contra money launderers in this area is what they're saying, I guess. All right, I don't know how we get to Diddy. And then we go SBF, Chalapon Enterprise, paid off state banking regulator, and then hired him as chief legal counsel. Maybe this will come back around. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit fucking lost. Those machinations began in 2018, the same time Coomer Scott Green took job at University. I know, what a fun name. Of University of Idaho. He ran the law firm that was big time in crypto regulations. That firm was handling the merger between FTX and Binance in November 2022. That merger failed on 9 November, resulting in FTX's emergency bankruptcy on 11 November. Less than 48 hours, 4 young college students brutally murdered in their home. So I guess, so the FTX bankruptcy, 48 hours later is when these murders happened. Okay.
So what does he think is the motive, though, to kill 4 students?
I think we'll get there. I think that's what we're getting there. It says, or distraction psyop. Not the only Manson murder connection. It says cocaine Bob Evans protege Graydon Carter has been running point on propaganda. He hired Howard Bloom to write a series on his airmail interwebs publication in all media outlets. Quote, Bloom. First article began day after Kohberger was extradited to Idaho, January 7th, 2023. And wait, there's more. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still pretty lost. So I need these to be. I need my handheld on these points. But whatever. We'll keep going. Idaho State Police Detective Victy Gooch.
How do they have these names? Coomer,
I know, right?
Gooch? What the fuck?
Coomer and Gooch? Yeah. That's a great cop duo.
Yeah. It's like
Coomer and Gooch.
Turner and Gooch. Coomer and Gooch. That would be a great show, man.
I know, right?
I would watch it. Yeah.
From December,
one masturbates and the other scratches his balls.
From December 2022 to January 2025, no one had any clue Gooch relative to the Idaho 4 murders on account of the unprecedented level of secrecy concealed in this case. In a public hearing in January 2025 and subsequent unsealing of sealed hearings from December 2024, we learned that the Gooch was involved in the most pivotal evidence against Kohberger. We learned that the Gooch was responsible for the investigation and transport of the alleged touch DNA evidence.
Interesting.
Now, I don't know if maybe he fucked up in his what was going on in his head to putting it in 2 words here, but he said something about relative. So I'm assuming, I don't know if they're implying that she's related to somebody in this case, but all right, whatever.
I'm not totally following it, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, either way, so we're learning the Gooch was responsible for the investigation. Okay, we already talked. We also learned the Gooch was the individual that interviewed the surviving roommate in December 2022 who elicited the statement.
So yeah, that was Dylan Mortensen or whatever. She was the chick that said that she saw the bushy eyebrows guy, but of course she was saying he was dressed all in black and had a black ski mask on, so she only remembered eyebrows and basically his general height, which really was, an average man's height, and that he was athletic, so, could describe many people, really.
The average man is not 6 foot tall, Toad.
All right. The average man, 5'10", I guess. Oh,
yeah,
you're just saying
I think it's
we're
like
all
5'6" is the average height of the average man, Toad. That's what my mommy told me.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right. Claiming the surviving roommate saw the intruder, but was in frozen shock phase for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Because, I remember you said that. That was like the thing that she didn't call the cops. So
that never sat right with me. Like, why the fuck? Yeah, are you waiting around for 8 hours? I don't fucking know.
Just in shock. And then 8 hours later, I was like, yep, I should call. In March 2025, the defense files a public motion proving the frozen shock phase statements from the Gooch interview. Statement that was in the probable cause affidavit for arrest frozen shock phase proven to be fictional. Defense releases transcript of the 8-hour delay in call-in 911. The surviving roommates were texting, calling, Snapchatting everyone.
Well, that was actually the leak, actually. That was the thing that defied the gag order. Actually, my mistake. It was Dateline showed the text between Dylan Mortensen, who was the surviving roommate who saw the killer, and the other surviving roommate who lived on the bottom floor, Bethany Funk or whatever her name is. They were texting, and then they were also trying to text the other roommates who were dead at that time. And then, Dylan wound up going down to Bethany's room, I guess, and then, I don't know, sat around for 8 hours and then called the police. I don't exactly know, but they were texting each other. To me, the text didn't seem that out of the ordinary, though. It was really the 8-hour wait period was the thing that really was like, what the hell is going on here? But the text didn't seem that strange to me, but I don't know.
All right, I think here's where we get into the relations he was implying earlier, because I was like, what's so untoward about this gooch? I get they're doing all these things, it's wild, but it seemed like there was some influence but here we are. The gooch's father was Colonel Paul Tates, U.S. Army intel protege. Now, once again, that is a bit another, okay, well, who is Colonel Paul Tate? We'll get into that in a second. By Gooch's own admission, her father appears to have gone undercover in the hippie movement investigating his daughter Sharon Tate's murder. So this is Sharon Tate's father, Tate murders. So
Sharon Tate's father, right? So Sharon Tate, was killed by the Manson family.
Yeah,
and that was the whole thing. If you've seen, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Tarantino, flips the script on that, and instead of going to the Tate house, they go to, where Leonardo DiCaprio is instead, and they get killed instead. Some Hollywood revisionism there. But so Sharon Tate, murdered by the Manson family. So this is her father is somehow tied into Gooch. I don't really totally follow that connection, but all right.
Yeah, I don't either. So, but maybe, and once again, if you guys are super interested, I can bring JJ to, tie all these different notes together, make it make more sense. And then he says, don't take my word for it. Listen to the Gooch. So this is the lady. So let's hear what she has to say.
Interesting. When you're in, obviously, parents are from Greece, moved to the Bay Area. Dad was in the military. Would you consider your parents conservative, liberal? How was that growing up in the Bay Area at the time?
They're very conservative. This is what moved us to Idaho. My dad's boss was Sharon Tate's father. He had been a colonel in the Army. And he was running the unit my dad worked for, both in retirement. And when
all right, and then there's
so Gooch's father's boss was Sharon Tate's father.
Yeah.
Okay. The formative years were spent in the Bay Area.
Can you describe a little bit about how your parents were, how they raised you?
So my dad was very strict. He was an Army officer, was in World War II in the Korean conflict, and would have gone to Vietnam, but my mom had didn't really want him going to Vietnam. He'd spent enough time away from home, 28 years. And I have a twin, like I told you, that we were young kids, but we had teenage siblings. And she said, basically, you've already served your country 28 years. I would rather you come home and start in basically coming home every night from work. So this is what happens. In the 60s, he decides to retire, but he takes a government job, a top secret clearance job. She didn't like that he was gone all the time. We moved to the Bay Area, and his top secret clearance job took him away from the house 3 weeks out of every month. So I was raised by my mom, and my dad would come home. He was the provider, but he was a father figure provider, and then he was gone, right? So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and we were fortunate. We had a very caring mom.
Would it be fair to say that you grew up in the Bay Area then?
Yes, that's what formative years up until the time we were 12. And then we moved to Boise, Idaho.
Okay, so she's in the Bay Area. Okay, all right, so. And this is, once again, to remind you guys, this Vicky Gooch broad is the one who is responsible for the...
Interesting, when you're in...
The hell just happened? Oh, play the next one. And then he's the one responsible for the touch DNA stuff, and then also the 8-hour shocked, didn't call the cops check or whatever. So,
right. It would have been pretty easy to plant that DNA, right? Like if they were looking at Kohberger at that point, they could have somehow gotten his DNA, and I think they'd gone into his apartment and stuff at that point as well. So they definitely could have gotten his DNA from something.
Yeah, but
touch DNA means nothing because it doesn't actually tie you to a crime, right? Like when you get DNA from a crime scene, what you really want is you want blood, you want semen, you want something that was definitely.
Maybe you do, homo.
Coomer wants that. you want that, something that was definitely deposited at the time of the crime. Touch DNA, is something that could be there who knows? Especially when it's on a movable object like this. I have problems with it.
Yeah, it is interesting how we're seeing like a mix between two of McGowan's most famous books right now. Program to Kill and Weird Scenes in Laurel Canyon, because it's like this is Laurel Canyon shit right here. Like this chick grew up in the Bay Area. Her dad worked for Sharon Tate's dad. Yeah. So anyways, in summary, no clue about the verdict the hypnotic-looking Biz Kohberger was under, nor the actual validity to any claim that anyone was murdered. No probate court cases, no funerals. Oh, all 4 victims allegedly cremated.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I know they demolished the house, so there's no crime scene anymore.
Yeah, they burned the bodies and the house? Okay. It says, I feel like I heard you say you were a SEER fellow from Fairchild Air Force Base. Just to address that, I mean, I have mentioned before that I was a SEER guy and that I went for SEER. I failed. So I failed in selection, and then I got recycled. I had to go back. I never left Lackland. For those who understand what I'm talking about, if you're not a military guy, you don't know what I'm talking about. Lackland is where you do your basic training. It's also where they have like the SEER selection. They have combat control selection. They have TAC-P selection. I think PJ selection's there as well. EOD as well. So anyways, I never left selection. Had I moved past selection, I would have gone to Fairchild for what's called track, which is a full training. And then whenever you get to your first duty station, it's usually Fairchild where you teach the SEER class for a while. Anyways, point being, I never got up to Fairchild. I failed in Lackland, then I got reclassed into aircraft mechanic, working on the refuelers, and then I got sent to Wichita for training, and then I got stationed in MacDill, and then the rest is kind of history. I deployed once in 2015. I had a pretty uneventful military career. I worked isochronal inspections for somewhere around 6 years, which is a deep, in-depth inspections in aircrafts where you pull them apart, inspect all the deep stuff, look for any deep cracks, anything, fix up little things. I did a couple years in wheel and tire, a couple years in the, flight line inspections where I do day-to-day stuff. And then did like a year as a training manager, which was like, just literally all I did was like cheat on people's weekly or yearly training and sign them off even though they didn't do it. just to make the numbers look good. And yeah, there you go. That's literally I'm trying to think if there's anything I did in the any other jobs I had or something. No, that was it. But yeah, just so you guys are aware. Then he goes, when I say Idaho Contra, point being, I never was full-fledged SEER instructor, nor did I ever end up in Fairchild. And he says, when I say Idaho Contra, he says, I literally mean the ongoing enterprises and literal same folks from Iran-Contra biz. Fun fact, actually, literally no one from my class in selection made it through the entire track, so they all failed. Anyways, going on, I literally mean the ongoing enterprises and literal same folks from Iran-Contra biz. For example, the Midwest Depot, which you may be familiar with from PatCon biz, the Weapons Depot for Iran-Contra, hood rat shit out of Camp Bullis in San Antonio, technically Camp Stanley, the secret CIA camp inside Camp Bullis. The entire combat arms section of Fairchild's Air Force Base Security Forces unit was busted for stealing guns and ammo and selling it on black market. Now, yes, this is PatCon shit, because I believe it was Punch-Out, maybe? I might have the operation wrong, which I believe it preceded or was the start of PatCon. At least that was the claimed start of PatCon, was some sort of like a claim of, this was associated with nabbing up people stealing, I think it was like they're ordering night vision goggles was the claim, and then they were stealing them from military bases or something. And so then that was like, I don't know, whatever. Point being is that was kind of like how that started. So it is like, hey, we're seeing it here now over at Fairchild. I know there's also many other cases I've seen of similar such things in the parapolitical world where you see some military base and goods that come from there disappearing. It's pretty common and glowy shit. So just throwing that out there. So you see the Fairchild's security forces, the military base, and when security forces, those are the guys that have the guns on base. Like they're the ones, they have their own armory and shit. So like the military base and like the extent of their munitions, I guess, aside from like, aircraft munitions and stuff, but like so far as, arms. I would assume most of that stuff is kept in the security forces armory. So, point being is it's like that is where all the military shit is at. So it kind of makes sense when you deal with glowy operations that security forces comes in play. And then keep in mind, that's just military cops. They have their own intel divisions too. So it's like, is it really that surprising that this is comes up all so often when things go low? It goes, but they were also dealing in silencers. Silencers not in the U.S. Air Force inventory. So now there's an extra thing. This extra adds a little wrinkle to this commonly used little glowy narrative of like, oh, we were just investigating the supplies that were being lost. No, that had nothing to do. We weren't seeding these into paramilitary groups or anything like that. But now we have the silencers. Where the fuck did you get silencers from? Because I used to, and then he goes, so JJ, he goes, because he used to be security forces. He's talked about this openly before. So it says, I used to run the weapons, ammo, money, equipment, manpower, blah, 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 for numerous commands and headquarters in D.C. for security forces. Them silencers did not come from the armory. It says, when an undercover ATF agent busted the ringleader from the Fairchild Air Force Base Combat Arms Section, whole section busted. The feds moved that ringleader to Whitman County Jail on December 5th, 2022, 14 days before the state testified that the feds called them and told them the name Brian Kohberger. The arrests at Fairchild, I believe, were 2020. The cases were adjudicated for his co-conspirators. But they were fucking with the ringleader for some reason unknown. It says, and one, he was transported to Whitman County Jail. I cannot locate him in any prison after that date in early December 2022. Enjoy. He goes, one caveat, federal court cases and thus their case law have zero jurisdiction in state court. Important to note, the feds ran a grand jury in Kohberger to collect evidence. The state then used that evidence in theory. The state only ever presented a PowerPoint, at least publicly. And the PowerPoint had lots of problems. And above it being a fucking PowerPoint.
That was to get the grand jury indictment?
Yeah, I guess it says like the feds ran a grand jury in Kohberger to collect evidence. State used that evidence in theory, quote unquote evidence. So they ran a grand jury to collect evidence, and then he's saying they presented a PowerPoint. So they didn't even show the evidence; they showed it in a PowerPoint. I guess is what they said. So now I don't know what specific evidence this is. So I mean, he's not specifying here. But it's like the idea that then they did that, and then, he's even pointing out that's like ridiculous. That's like a PowerPoint, too. Because the state continued to argue the feds would not give them the evidence and also testify that there were no chain of custody NOR lab reports for the alleged DNA evidence. So, that's wild. They're not even, you're supposed to be able to get the evidence. So this is their workaround, like, oh, we did in a PowerPoint.
And I guess this became a federal case just because he crossed a state line. Is that... I guess that must be it, right? Because initially the Moscow PD was initially, on this case, but because he drove across the border from Washington, supposedly at least.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know.
He says, not sure what all that Fed grand jury business about, because I also have no clue why judge quoted case law in McVeigh case last week. He goes, but gross violations of inalienable rights when playing this federal grand jury to use evidence in state court and play games saying, no, that's a federal grand jury. This is a state court. We cannot force a federal grand jury to give us evidence. So, okay. All right, I get, okay. I missed that component. Okay, so they did a federal grand jury. I would almost need a lawyer to explain this a little bit better to me, because there's I guess he's saying they used a federal grand jury in this, despite the fact it's not federal, and this kind of complicates it legally is what I'm getting from here. Now, I don't know exactly. We cannot force. It sounds like he's almost pointing out the ludicrous of this, and it's almost as if they can kind of play it both ways, because it's a federal thing. They can go, oh, we don't have to do certain things for you, but then they go, oh, they're also then able to withhold evidence because of it. Like, it kind of goes both ways, I think, is the implication here. And then he just kind of made a joke saying, this is my artist's interpretation of the PowerPoint report. So, all right. Yeah, that was a lot. I know it probably didn't make a lot of sense, although I think we did learn some stuff through there. Because it was a lot of information. Yeah, for sure.
And by the way, there are a lot of other there are YouTubers that have also really gone through, there's all this camera footage that got released from like neighboring houses to where the crime happened. And there are people that are saying that the state's timeline is off because you can hear these like blood-curdling screams at like 2 something in the morning, even though the murder supposedly took place at 4 something in the morning. So something a little bit weird going on with that. You can see like some of the vehicles that are considered to be the Elantra that look like it might be a different vehicle. There are like a lot of problems going on there too. And then there is this weird, because this was like a Saturday night, I think. So there were a lot of parties going on that night, whatever. And there is police body cam footage where the police had pulled over, I don't know, a vehicle, I think, of a few dudes who were drinking. Or I think they were out kind of in this field near one of the frat houses, which I forget if that was the frat house that the boyfriend, one of the murder victims, like he either belonged to that frat or a different frat. I don't know. But he, I believe, had been at that frat at some point that night with his girlfriend. Both of them were victims in this case because they were at one of those frat houses, at one of those parties. And there is body cam footage that night from like a field near that frat house where the police are talking to some of the frat guys there, basically just talking to them about how they're publicly intoxicated or whatever. And at one point in that footage, if I remember correctly, you could see multiple probably students running from the direction of where this murder house was. And this was at least supposedly before the murder took place, but maybe not. This is at like, 1 or 2 in the morning or something. It's like, why are they running from that house? I don't know, but it was a party house. There are people in and out of it. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Hell yeah. All right, let's roll through the chat, fellas. I do want to say thank you to Madassa Moat on Rumble. Sent over $10. Said, good job, fellas. Love from Austin. Or AUS, actually. So maybe that means Australia. So appreciate it, brother. Much love. Appreciate the support. You guys can also support with a subscription model over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020 if you are interested. Let's roll the chat, see what you guys have to say. I know it's been a minute since we checked in with you guys. See what you guys think. Rise to Liberty says basically they created a false positive. They found a guy to fit the mold that they themselves made. It's kind of what you were talking about earlier, where it's like they, seems like they picked a guy, like almost as if like once they had him, that was that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He says, I thought judges absolutely hated it when someone takes a guilty plea, but they then still insist on innocence. If I recall correctly, they will throw out pleas for it. Okay, I didn't realize he was also insisting innocence. I wasn't aware of that.
You can Alfred plea, but yeah. I don't think that's what he did. But you can Alfred plea, which is basically like you're pleading guilty, but you're not admitting to guilt. if that makes sense. I don't know.
By the way, you just scored I think you just scored an interview. Rise to Liberty said, I had no idea Toad was such a true crime aficionado. He has lots of thoughts on the Titanic. There's a lot of Toad takes the niche weird ones that you're like, why would anyone? Why do you know all this? And you're like, I got obsessed with this once. And you're like, that's Toad.
I mean, I know a lot about different, like murder cases and stuff like that too. Yeah, that's Jacob, right? Rise to Liberty. I've been on his show before. Fun times.
Jacob says, there's a supposed serial killer in New England, son of some of which happened in Massachusetts. Toad, can you count for all of your whereabouts?
Yeah, it's me, obviously. Yeah, the New England serial killer is just so crazy, dude. It's basically like any dead body that gets found in New England now. Oh, there must be a serial killer here. It's like, yeah, okay, sure.
All right, do a full Idaho episode. All right, I've got at least 2. All right, well, if you really want to happen, tag JJ Vance and say do an Idaho episode. Well, not Idaho. I guess it's Idaho. I mean, do we do an Idaho episode or do we do a Kohberger episode? That's the question, because Idaho, like even here, he was like kind of. I think it would have to be a Kohberger. If we did Idaho, that would be way too big. Because, I mean, hell, it's so weird how much Idaho is coming up this week for me. I did last night, I did another one of my Wendy painting episodes of her threads. And in that, it got into, like, multiple times is going into the Aryan nations and how they're, like, in Idaho. And that's clearly, like, one of their main hubs is there in Idaho. Obviously, we had the Idaho thing, the fire, the shooting happened over there. Yeah. Which looks like perhaps some sort of weird glowy shit of some sort. Then what was the other one? Then obviously then this as well.
Ruby Ridge.
Yeah, Ruby Ridge. So it's like all this Idaho shit. Like Jesus Christ, I don't think you could do a full Idaho. If we tried to do an episode like going over what is even going on there, because it does seem like what the fuck. This is clearly some sort of nexus, is Idaho, for some weird-ass reason. So
I think they might have meant just do an episode on this
I think so.
This
I think
case,
so,
but yeah.
But as I said, I was like, I could do an episode on Idaho. But
yeah.
Zizzy and shit is wild. Connects to best friends of animals and DAs all over the country. Also, good morning. Good morning, Gerald Hall. Good morning. Good morning. There is a Dr. Deborah Gook, says Corey Henson. Tom says, I really want to meet all the TG guys simply because I'm 6'3" and they're all midgets. I don't know why it won't let me bring that up. It's not letting me bring up...
Except for Clint, yes.
It's not letting me bring up chats anymore. That's bizarre. It just glitched out. Okay, well, I guess I'll just read them. StreamYard's being gay for some reason. Sorry. All right. Good show to check out about the Manson murders is Aquarius starring David Duchovny, says Andrew Jacobs. I really hate that I can't... You can hear me just fine and everything, right? You can see me. Nothing's weird. I'm not having like weird internet issues.
You might be. There's been a little bit of lag at a couple of points. But...
Okay. All right. Like bad? All right, I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to count to 2. I want you to say 3 so I can know if I have a lag. 1, 2.
What? Oh, I was supposed to say 3? Oh.
I was trying to see if I had a fucking delay.
I was...
All right, let's let me bring up the chats again. StreamYard shit. StreamYard was being glitchy. Wouldn't let me bring up chat or bring up things, and I was like, "Is the internet acting up?"
It might be your internet because your video is kind of fucked up right there. It might be the internet.
All right, maybe it's the internet. I literally just got a new fucking router. What the fuck? All right, whatever. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, I see somebody complaining in the chat about it, so I guess maybe that's it. Maybe it is there. All right. See Dottie saying hello. Go big or go homo. Toad's brain is lagging. So all right, now real quick, Toad. Now can you do the 1, 2, 3? 1, 2,
3.
Okay, I don't really have that much of a delay. Okay, whatever. Let's move on to the next thing. We'll finish up with this one, actually. I just thought this one was particularly funny, and I feel like maybe, just maybe, Toad has something to say on this, because I don't know shit about this stuff, but I do know Thiel has a tendency to name things with super symbolic meanings, which are way too on the head and creepy. But here's another example of such. Someone says, Peter Thiel names his new bank after the location in Lord of the Rings where Smaug killed everyone and stole their money. If you liked Palantir, you'll love Erebor. And it says PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel and Anduril founder Palmer Luckey are launching Erebor, a digital bank built for crypto and tech startups. So it's just, we got Erebor, as they said, this is where Smaug killed everyone and stole their money. And this is where this is for crypto and tech startups. We have Palantir, which is the seeing stone used by Saruman that I believe was either infected by the evil of either Sauron or Morgoth, which I don't know how you could have even more of a heavy-handed metaphor. We had the Valar Ventures, which was what the nexus through which the Epstein entity invested $40 million in has made $160 million into. So, I mean, the Valar were the gods in Middle-earth, like essentially the gods on Earth. And I don't know, if you were elite pedophiles hanging out on islands, fucking, I don't know, just passing around kids and wearing their faces, I could totally see how you'd think you were a god.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And here we have another one. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. I just know with crypto tech startups, I have no idea what this is, where it's going, but it's just, I can't help but, point out every fucking time he makes some creepy Lord of the Rings reference when you're like, that's literally the baddie. That's the bad one. What are you doing? It's not like you picked a cool name like Fingolfin. You're like, oh yeah, that's the first elf that fucking, killed the Balrog. Isn't that fucking cool? You're like, no, he picked the evil thing. Every time it's some crazy, elaborate, evil metaphor. Yeah. And you're like, why is with the crazy, over-the-top, evil symbolism that you're just like, oh, I'm just quirky and I like Lord of the Rings. You're like, what? Yeah, but I do too. And I know what those things mean, and it's creepy. So, I don't know. These aren't the Lord... If I was just being Lord of the Rings nerd and naming my shit after Lord of the Rings stuff, these aren't the fucking names I'd pick. These are the names I'd pick if I was trying to be fucking evil and throw it in everyone's faces about how evil I am without just being like, I'm just a funny little Lord of the Rings nerd. Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think, Toad?
I agree with you. I don't trust it at all, man. I would not trust any of these companies here. Peter Thiel, however you pronounce his name, is a weird dude. I also believe if you look at his Twitter account, I think he's only following one person, and it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Not anymore. He was following Milo, but not anymore, yeah.
Oh, so now he's following no one.
I believe so, but yeah, he was following Milo, which is weird.
Maybe he accidentally did it, or maybe there's something else going on there. I don't know. Maybe are we not to trust Milo anymore? I don't know.
Mm.
I don't trust Peter though. There's something very strange going on here. I don't know a whole lot about crypto and digital banking, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Toad, let's get on out of here, bud. Let people know where they can find you at, and we'll skedaddle.
Yeah, it's Learn to Toad on Twitter, the Better Off Dead podcast, which is my suicidal sports betting show, now with a cool intro. There was a video compiled by Laney, and I threw one of the fans did some music, and I threw it on there. It's hilarious. So BTTOR, Better Off Dead. I'm now on all the audio platforms of that as well as YouTube and Instagram. I'm doing Instagram content for that shit as well. I am covered in uke as well on YouTube right now. I'm going to be doing more uke content-related stuff and probably doing a Patreon that's going to have some bonus ukulele stuff involved there. So things are in the works, man, because otherwise I'm not going to have any income. So
did you say covered in uke? Is that what you just said? Is that the name of something? Because that's pretty solid branding if you're branding
That's the name of my ukulele YouTube channel. Because I used to play it while drunk, so it was covered in uke.
Okay, that's solid. That's a good one. That's a good play on words.
Yeah.
Are you moving? Have you put your place up for sale?
No.
Why not? You don't even have a job.
I probably have to sell. Yeah, I mean, even if I'm not moving,
Yeah, I'm not
far,
even saying move to Florida. I'm just like, you could, even if you're living in North New Hampshire, you need a change of scenery, one way or the other. So
I got to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, brother. We'll let you go. I'll definitely have you on again sometime. I mean, maybe we'll, we still have our Hoppa series that we'll have to get to. But
we do.
For those who want to support what I'm doing over here, and if you don't want to chip any money, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. There you can be my eyes and ears out there in the world and help curate the content on this show. I'd say probably a little bit under half or so, give or take, of the content here is usually stuff that you guys tag me in, and I go, oh, this is a thing out there. I don't even spend that much time on Twitter. I need you guys to help me out. I got stuff to do. I got kids to raise. I got trying to make some money, trying to do some shit, trying to spend time with my family. I got stuff to do. I can't be in Twitter world all the time, sucking in, parapolitical information. I just can't. I need you guys to do that. So help a brother out. Tag me and stuff if you see something there. And this is a way you can contribute to the show without any money whatsoever. But if you do want to chip in, you can do that over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Shut up, Jeff. The lowest level is $2. And at that level, you get access to the Telegram. We won't kick you out after it, so you only have to pay one time, and you can get the Telegram for forever. But you get access to the Telegram. That's me and Austin's, so it's essentially the already dead Telegram. You also get access to an ad-free RSS feed. You also get access to paywalled content. I do about 2 of those a week. Usually keep about 4 at a time. So you get weeks of paywalled content. You also get access to the pre-show and priority in the call-ins on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on both of our platforms. Now I do give a big shout out to the big old sponsors, the big Patreon sponsors, the big money millionaires, much like the guy in front of me who doesn't have a job but for some reason still gives me money and still lives in the same place. At Tower Gang Toad, thank you, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Also at Learn to Toad. I keep saying at Tower Gang Toad still. Old habits die hard. Yeah. At Abrogate D's, at ZOVRECK, at _Infant Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Bull, Will Bells, Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, Big Fan Show, Torrin May, and Jordan Peterson. With that, guys, we're out of here. Love you all. Make sure to hit the like button before you leave, just like Rise to Liberty says. With that, we're out of here. Love you. Deuces.